Evening, Northumbria Police.
Hi there, I just need a bit of advice, really. I split up with my boyfriend about 3 months ago. He's been sending me a lot of messages, even though I've asked him not to contact me. I know that he's hacked into my Facebook and also my phone. Basically, just messaging my friend tonight. I had a knock at my door. Still a bit, shaken up.
What I call it.
Please, I've just come back to my flat and the door was locked, so I crawled through the window and my flatmate's covered in blood in the bathroom. Alice! Alice! Oh my God, she's dead!
Police have launched a murder investigation after the body of a Leicestershire woman was discovered in Gateshead. Officers found 24-year-old Alice Ruggles with serious injuries on Rawlings Road last night. She died at the scene.
The murder was an act of utter barbarism.
Her throat slit from ear to ear in her Gateshead home.
You look at that bathroom and you think about the injuries she'd sustained. 5 or 6 times the knife had been drawn across her throat. It was so brutal and senseless. She was a kind-hearted young woman who had everything to live for.
I first met Alice when she was at uni here. This is actually a picture taken on the first night that Alice and I met, and that cemented our friendship. It's the kiss of true love right there. This is a video of Alice doing his signature dance move. We used to joke that we won the dance floor.
A night out with Alice would be very entertaining. She had such a lovely, bubbly energy about her, and we were just fast friends straight away. This is us drunk in the bathroom, pulling funny faces. She brought the je ne sais quoi to whatever was happening.
When?
Alice was the third of our 4 children. She always had a joke or a story, something that would make you laugh, and she had this tremendous sense of fun and of mischief. When she finished her degree, she wanted to stay in Newcastle. So she spent a year, 18 months, I think it was, working in bars, and then she got a job with Sky.
Go, Alice!
I think Alice's life really started in that sort of year. She'd ring me up and say, "Oh, Mum, it's amazing. I've got to organise the Sky Christmas board. They're all going to arrive and they're all going to have cocktails." And it seemed almost as if everything she'd been doing before then had been a sort of practice. And now suddenly she's doing what she wanted to do and really enjoying it.
This photo I took on the day that I asked Alice to come to Sri Lanka with me. We'd never been outside of Europe, we wanted new experiences, and it was nice to be able to do that together. We shared quite a lot on social media because obviously we wanted everyone to be as excited as we were, or even just a little bit jealous. On our way to Sri Lanka, we sat next to somebody that found Alice very attractive. I posted the selfie to Facebook. friend of a friend actually commented on the photo, and that person was Harry. Harry was in the army. He had been at the same university as me. He was a very good friend of mine. She thought that he was very nice, very caring. Harry did send me a message a few days later. She went straight to Facebook to see what he looked like. She actually started messaging Harry when we were in Sri Lanka. He seemed to be being very nice to her, saying all of the right things. It seemed to be making her really, really happy.
She was always looking for someone that could match her level of love and caring and affection, and she'd basically hit it off with him straight away. She said they had an instant connection.
Within the space of a month, it was a solid, I love you, you love me, we're together, we're going to be together forever sort of thing. We had FaceTimed like hundreds of times at this point, but they hadn't physically met.
It's a completely different world for me to feel that you're in a relationship with someone and you've only met them on social media. He was a soldier and he was actually out in Afghanistan on tour at the time. But they just communicated a lot. And she started sending him things.
She just said, you know, I've met this person and I think he might be a really good person and it's quite interesting and I'm enjoying it. I didn't realise that they never actually met each other at that point.
The 25-year-old man's been arrested on suspicion of murder and remains in police custody.
Are you saying that Alice is dead? Or someone's...
All I can tell you is that you've been arrested on suspicion of the murder of Alice Ruggles.
The first time they ever met each other, they spent like 2 solid weeks together. He stayed in Newcastle for a week with Alice at her flat.
He spoilt her silly during that time. He bought lots of things. They went out places. And then he went back to Afghanistan to complete his tour for a couple of months. Then he came back for good. He lived in barracks just south of Edinburgh. 2.5-hour journey down to Gateshead where Alice lived.
They were technically long distance, but I don't think that impacted so much. She said to us it's the most she'd ever felt for anyone. She was completely head over heels, and he reciprocated that, and that made her feel really special.
He was everything Alice wanted him to be. And she said to me, Mum, I think he's the one.
There were obviously a couple of wobbly issues. If things are going that fast, it doesn't necessarily seem out of sorts that there would be a teething issue at some point. We just assumed that it's just very clumsy, and of course he would never do this on purpose. I wasn't seriously worried. I assumed that there would be common ground found and they would work through it. But Alice was very choice with what she shared and with whom. I don't think anybody actually knew the full story.
We got like all of the juicy gossip at the start. And then it petered off and we didn't hear loads. We would arrange casual meetups and she'd brain check on, and she was just a little harder to get hold of. I just kind of pinned it on a new relationship being something that does take up a lot of your time at the start anyway.
Alice took steps to withdraw from all of her friendships. It was very difficult. I thought of Alice like a little sister. To see somebody completely become a shell of exactly who you know them to be, I think was pretty devastating. I highly suspected that Harry had a lot to do with that.
It was really a little bit later before we started to realise, hang on a minute, things aren't right. He demanded to know where she was going and what she was doing. Unannounced, he'd just drive down to Newcastle and turn up. What he was actually doing was gradually isolating Alice and making her more and more dependent on him. We just didn't realise the danger that she was in.
So, Harry, at 18:34 hours yesterday, Alice Ruggles was found at her home address in Gateshead and she'd been murdered. Okay, did you murder Alice?
No, I did not murder Alice.
Police have launched a murder investigation after the body of a Leicestershire woman was discovered in Gateshead. Officers found 24-year-old Alice Ruggles with serious injuries on Rawlings Road last night. She died at the scene. The 25-year-old man remains in police custody.
So, Harry, at 18:34 hours yesterday, Alice Ruggles was found at her home address in Gateshead and she'd been murdered. Okay, did you murder Alice?
No, I did not murder Alice.
Do you have any knowledge of this?
No, I don't have any knowledge of this.
Were you present when this murder occurred?
No, I wasn't.
We used to have a family holiday to Cornwall every year. It was quite a nice excuse for everyone to get together, especially considering we're normally remote and everyone's in different places. That year, Alice invited Harry, and I thought, oh, OK, it must be quite serious if she's bringing him along. Alice was a little less outgoing than she'd normally be, I think. She was a bit less Alice.
She was less self-confident. She'd lost weight. She had this sort of faraway look. It was quite clear there was something seriously wrong. But we couldn't talk to her about it because he was always there. Just a couple of days after they went back up from Cornwall, Alice was contacted by someone she didn't know to say, do you realise your boyfriend's cheating on you? All through this time, he was actually dating other women on other social media. When she discovered that he'd been cheating on her, that was when she ended the relationship. Or tried to, because of course he wasn't going to have any of that.
I thought it was a very extreme breakup based on what she shared, but I think she made the decision that she needed to fully move on from this relationship. In the background, Harry was unleashing the most awful strain of harassment.
Alex, please call me back. Please. I just want to speak to you. There's nothing else. I don't even know if you're getting this voice messages, but please, can you call me back?
If he couldn't get a hold of her, he would drive down. He inserted himself physically into her life.
He's messaged her any way he can from his friends' mobile phones. He sent the message to me, and he sent messages to some of Alice's other friends. And I just messaged him and I said, if things are really going so badly, then maybe it's better that you don't carry on going out. And then I put at the bottom, good luck, Harry. Meaning, go away and get on with your life. I have a horrible feeling he took that good luck, Harry, to mean carry on.
She's tried telling him she's not interested. That hasn't worked. He's escalated, he's continued the behaviour, and it's got worse. So I think at this point she starts trying to ignore him, and that's when it starts to get a bit more serious. I'm a tech guy, I'm from a tech background, so my first instinct, of course, right, well, he's got access to accounts and devices, we need to get that back, we need to lock him out. The problem with these big social media companies is you're not really talking to a person, and they can't really help you for a lot of these things. In the end, she closed that Facebook account and started a new one. And that's not necessarily the best way to go about it. If you factory reset devices and reset all the accounts, you gain back that control, but you can cause the perpetrator to escalate further.
It's something that I did I shouldn't have done, but because I had her Facebook password, so I went on her Facebook and changed her password.
So you've logged on as her and changed her password?
Yeah. Obviously, I'm not going to sit here and say I don't stalk her and all that. But obviously, I did look at her Facebook to see what's going on, because I've been with her for so long through all these things, so I can't just turn her off my head.
Alice went and stayed with her sister, who lived in Germany at the time, for a weekend, which was really lovely because it just took her away from everything.
She was telling me that she was having the best time, there was a guy there that she was interested in. She also joked that, thank God, because she actually didn't know if she was capable of that again.
Alice didn't really share that on any public social media, but she did talk to us about it over WhatsApp. She was being cautious because she didn't know how Harry would respond when he found out about it. Harry found out about it quite quickly. I suspect he was reading the WhatsApp messages the whole time. So Alice is left in a position where her ex is weaponising her social life. She doesn't know how to stop him. She doesn't fully know what he's got access to. She couldn't hide anything from him. Every waking minute he was, right, what's the next thing I need to do? How do I do this?
I'm not a mobile geek. I couldn't go on her Facebook or on her WhatsApp. I couldn't hack her phone. I just played that card out like, well, I've got on your phone and I can see there's a guy you're speaking to. Tell me what his name is. Tell me what's going on. She fell for it. And she was like, oh, I met this guy. And I was like, please don't do this to me. How can you move on so fast? I'm still in love with you and you're like, you've moved on.
Evening, Northumbria Police.
Hi there. I just need a bit of advice, really, more than anything. So I split up with my boyfriend about 3 months ago. Since then, I know that he's hacked into my Facebook and also my phone. He's been sending me a lot of messages, even though I've asked him not to contact me. And then tonight, well, I had a knock at my door. There was no one there, and then it happened again 2 or 3 times. He's come round the back, knocked on my bedroom window at the back of my flat, ground floor flat. He's been outside and he's like left some flowers and chocolates on the outside windowsill, and he walked off. He's not done anything, but I'm concerned. Like, my friends have been telling me to call the police. I've been putting it off, but I just feel a bit shaken up tonight. So
well, it can be classed as harassment.
Yeah.
Which is a crime.
The guy at the end of the phone, he identifies it as harassment, not as stalking. And there's a serious difference there. The fact that he is prepared to spend 5 hours just to come down on the off chance of seeing her gives you an idea of how dangerous this situation is getting.
Hey, Alice. After we spoke and we didn't want to speak, so that's why I decided to come down to give you flowers and chocolates. I just wanted to give you flowers and chocolates to prove that, no, I don't want to kill you. I'm not intending to kill you. That's all I wanted to say.
He's telling her how he would never kill her, but why would you talk about that if you were not trying to frighten someone?
You've had no indication that Alice wanted anything to do with you ever again.
Yeah.
Yeah, you've still come down.
Yeah.
And it's not like you live in Newcastle.
No, I know. I've come along.
You live over 2 hours away.
I understand.
So that, to me, makes me think this guy is, desperate. You are desperate to speak to her.
Yeah.
Alice, once she had made that phone call to 101, the best practice would be to get an SPO issued, a stalking protection order, which would protect her but also manage Harry Dillon's behaviour. Unfortunately, at this time, they weren't in place and a PIN was issued.
She believed the police and the PIN would be that full stop. She was told on the first call that if he contacted her again, he would be in breach of his PIN and he would be arrested.
We didn't really understand that he was obsessed with Alice and how dangerous a person he was. And after she'd gone to the police and Harry found out she'd gone to the police, he messaged me again. He was absolutely furiously angry. It really, really disturbed me at the time. And then she also received a parcel with a really weird letter.
Dangerous stalkers often only reveal themselves when it is made absolutely clear that you are the wrong side of the law. A significant number of people will step back at that point. But for other people, it will be the sparking point of absolute control. I have nothing to lose. Harry took that course of action.
I think that once Alice called the police, that was when he decided he was going to kill her.
Alice was taken away from her family by an obsessed man who was so controlling he chose to brutally murder her rather than let her go.
Alice has done all the right things. She's contacted the police, she's moving on, she expects him to move on, and the protections should have been there, but they weren't.
Hi there. I've been in touch with the police. Somebody's been issued with a pen so that they can't contact me. However, I've had a letter off them.
What was the content of the letter? Was he...
So pictures of me and him, because he's my ex-boyfriend, so a notebook that I sent him when we were together and a letter. It says at the bottom he won't contact me, this will be the last I hear from him, but he's said that a lot of times and he never does seem to stop.
So do you want to call back and discuss this?
She was phoned back by the police, and all we know is Alice was so upset by this because they phoned to say, well, what do you expect us to do about it? Arrest him? In a tone of voice that made it sound completely ridiculous to want that.
I just can't even comprehend the level of despair someone has to be at, because they essentially knew, given the last interaction with the police, that they were on their own. There was no help for them.
Alice rang me and said, they're not going to do anything, Mum. Nothing's going to happen. And I said to her, Alice, just ignore him and he'll go away. And of course, that's the most ridiculous advice ever, and I know that now, but I didn't know that at the time. It doesn't really matter, though, because the police should never have asked her what she wanted to do. They should have said, this guy sounds dangerous. We are going to arrest him. Or at least we're going to go and talk to him. Because their job should have been to keep Alice safe.
Five days later, on the 12th, Alice had been brought home, as usual, by someone from work. But her flatmate wasn't there that day. She'd been delayed a bit at work and was going to be another half hour out getting home. So Alice gets to the flat, locks herself in, as always.
She was organising meeting up with this new guy. She was very excited about it.
Suddenly, she stops responding to anything. Her flatmate gets home and she can't get in through the door. So she has to go round, climbing through a window which has been left open. She finds Alice.
Police emergency. Thank you. Go ahead, caller.
Please, I've just come back to my flat and the door was locked, so I crawled through the window and my flatmate's covered in blood in the bathroom.
Is she breathing?
I don't know, I can't look, I'm sorry.
Okay, try and stay calm.
Alice! Alice! Oh my God, she's dead! She's dead!
Can you have a look and see if she's breathing for the ambulance?
She's not.
She's not breathing?
No, she looks, no. Everything's been knocked off, it looks like she's been attacked. Please help. Oh my God, I can't even go on, I'm so scared,
Try and stay calm, you're doing really well.
She's not breathing, she's actually blue, please. Please, I need somebody here right now.
I know you do, we're getting to you as soon as we can.
She's only 23, I mean, knew this was coming, I thought this is an absolute psychopath. Say that again, sorry.
She put in a complaint in about her ex and she phoned 101 at the weekend to report that he's trying to get in contact and he says we're going to do nothing. Now this has happened to me.
About who?
Our ex-boyfriend, Harry Dillon.
I woke up first and I could hear this knocking at the door and the dog barking. Of course, get to the front door and there's two police there asking if they can come in. You know it's something horrible, and the question in your mind at that stage is simply, which of them is it? Who is it? As soon as they said it was Alice, then we kind of knew immediately who'd done it.
We dismissed it as being, we were overreacting, and then suddenly this was really happening, and it's sort of, you can't believe it, that it's happened.
Officers found 24-year-old Alice Ruggles with serious injuries on Rawlings Road last night. She died at the scene. The 25-year-old man's been arrested on suspicion of murder and remains in police custody.
So, Harry, at 18:34 hours yesterday, Alice Ruggles was found at her home address in Gateshead and she'd been murdered. Okay, did you murder Alice?
No, I did not murder Alice.
Do you have any knowledge of this?
No, I don't have any knowledge of this.
I think he genuinely believed that he would get away with it.
Can you tell me what you were doing yesterday then, from 10 a.m. until the time you were arrested last night?
I drove down towards Newcastle, and because I just wanted answers. So I drove down to speak to her.
So you've knocked on the door and there's been no reply.
No
Did you go
reply.
back to the car?
No.
Or did you go straight round the back?
Straight down the back. I jumped over the wall.
So you've jumped over?
Yeah. So I've jumped over, and she then started saying, what are you doing here? I'm going to call the police, leave now. And I'm like, Alice, please calm down. Stop panicking. I'm just here to speak to you. You've not given me my answers. I just want my answers.
Yeah.
She's like, I'm going to call 999. I'm like, okay, I'm leaving. I don't want any trouble with the police again. I'm leaving.
I found out at about 4 in the morning. I mean, immediately I knew it was Harry. Although obviously nothing's been proven or anything yet.
We're looking for fingerprints. We're looking for blood transfer from the scene to the car.
See, the thing is, sorry I'm interrupting, there won't be any blood transfer because there was no blood on me when I left that place.
So are you saying when you left her she had no injuries or anything?
Oh, no, absolutely nothing. No injuries, nothing. She was perfectly fine, fit, healthy.
We've been told exactly what happened to her. And how you cut her throat.
No comment.
Are you looking back? Are you? Do you remember what happened?
No comment.
Do you remember what you did?
No comment.
Do you remember how bad it was?
No comment.
Do you remember the blood spraying?
No comment.
I'm being told that she suffered. She must have known what was happening. Because she didn't die straight away.
Harry made the choice to drive 2.5 hours and end Alice's life. And then pretend like it never happened. That is what happened.
The man has appeared in court accused of murdering a woman from Leicestershire. 25-year-old Treman Dillon, also known as Harry Dillon from Scotland, appeared in front of magistrates at Newcastle Crown Court this morning.
But a case like this one, where you think the evidence is overwhelming, everybody expects the person to be convicted. I was very surprised at the first hearing when he said he was not guilty of murdering Alice.
Tonight, a soldier accused of killing his ex-girlfriend at her home in Gateshead today described the events leading up to her death.
Lance Corporal Treman Dillon told jurors at Newcastle Crown Court he went to retrieve clothes from the home of Alice Ruggles, but after a prolonged scuffle, she fell and was wounded in the neck by a knife. He denies murdering her.
I didn't think there could be anything more hurtful that could come out of this. I'd lost Alice, and that was horrific. But Dylan had put in this counterclaim that Alice had tried to murder him. It's really difficult to think this was that person we met to someone who is clearly an evil person.
We spent 2 days standing just 5 metres in front of us in the courtroom, spinning his story. He was totally unemotional. He'd keep putting nasty words into Alice's mouth as he was describing his version of what happened. That I really hadn't been prepared for. It was really, you know, a hyper level of nastiness.
He used the opportunity to undermine, devalue, discredit anything that he possibly could. I think Harry thought that we were essentially just all puppets that he could play with during that trial.
As a prosecutor, you don't know what a jury will make of it. So you've really just got to break it down and not take any chances. The background and the atmosphere that was leading up to this killing was so important. Over many, many weeks and months, there'd been this campaign of telephone calls.
Please call me back, please.
Text messages, WhatsApp messages, Facebook messages. Heaping on pressure on pressure on pressure.
Prosecutor Richard Wright QC accused Lance Corporal Harry Dillon of stalking his ex-girlfriend Alice and being utterly obsessed with her.
It was a very important theme in the evidence that he had a real history of controlling behaviour. It was a feature of not just his relationship with Alice, but of all of the relationships we were able to identify.
We learned lots of things during the trial that we didn't know before. For example, there were 2 or 3 occasions when he'd stalked other people. We'd had some inkling of one of them, but yeah, not the others.
He told Alice about the restraining order against him, and in fact, he used that as a sort of weapon for Alice and said, there's no point in you calling the police because I've done this before and I got off with it.
The prosecution suggested Dillon is a person who lies to help himself. Dillon accepted he has lied in the past.
We were able to really break it down and demonstrate to the jury that what he was doing was lying, and every time a lie was disproved, he'd come up with another one to tell in its place. The scenes of crime analysis demonstrated that the slitting of the throat and bruising to Alice's back suggested clearly was that Dillon had kneeled or stood on her back, pulled back her hair and slit her throat in the shower. So the idea that she was the one with the knife was ludicrous. You want the jury to get there themselves. You've got to give them the tools to make the decision. Alice Ruggles wanted to live because she loved life. And that image of Alice is what I wanted the jury to remember, not what he did to her.
Her murder was an act of utter barbarism. The words of a judge today as he jailed a soldier for killing his ex-girlfriend at her flat in Gateshead.
The judge formed the view that Harry Dillon was an obsessive, controlling narcissist who'd shown no remorse at all, and gave him 22 years as a minimum term of a life sentence.
Alice was a kind, incredibly sociable, fun-loving person. She had the ability to light up the room whenever she walked in. We miss her so much.
There wasn't enough understanding about stalking was, and there wasn't enough training within the police about stalking. The police should have been able to identify that this was a stalking case, what was going on, and had known what they should have done.
The IOPC, the Independent Office for Police Conduct, found that Northumbria police officers did not properly investigate Alice Ruggles' concerns about stalking.
His use of social media isolated Alice from support and limited her ability to prevent unwanted contact.
I think there's 1,001 lessons. Everybody needs to know what stalking is and how dangerous it can be. I think people need to be able to spot things like gaslighting and love bombing and controlling behaviour. We also need to learn that it's not just the person who's being stalked who needs the attention. We need to think about what is it that we can actually do to these people who are stalking.
By no means will everybody who harasses somebody go on to kill them. But people who kill their partners in domestic contexts will often have harassed them. And so one is a warning sign of what might happen. The criminal justice system will always be the blunt instrument at the end of the process. That what needs to change is at the front end in terms of protective measures that can be put in place before you get to court. In terms of the police taking these issues seriously, and in terms of having the resources and the tools to tackle this sort of behaviour.
If we think half of all stalking cases are about relationships or intimate connections that have come to an end, those relationships will have very most likely come from a relationship that was coercive and controlling, that then becomes stalking at the point of separation. So if we can educate people more about both recognising control when it's happening to you and recognise when you're being controlling of others, then we stand a better chance of reducing the rate of stalking in the future. The Alice Ruggles Trust, for example, are very committed to education from a young age about healthy relationships.
We founded the trust in Alice's name because we thought, no, we've got to stop people like ourselves not knowing how dangerous stalking is. We wanted to prevent what happened to Alice happening to others.
Social media has changed stalking in that all cases of stalking will now have a cyber aspect. We can be more exposed because of our social media accounts. We can be researched in a way that wasn't possible before.
The cyber age has given us so many other ways in which people can be stalked. There are various really quite worrying surveillance tools out there. We have to be acutely aware of those.
The purpose of the Trust is to raise awareness, to do training, to try and to change the problems that we found. I think there's more public understanding now than there was in 2016. There are more safeguards in place, but there's always more to do. I think a lot of stalking victims feel like they're overreacting and they need to not worry about it. But I think that's the way the stalker wants you to feel, and actually they need to feel like it is serious and that people are there to help them.
What happened with Alice? It was tragic. It shouldn't have happened. She did a lot to try and make sure that it didn't, but it just goes to show that you need every cog in the system working, and it's a big system.
Alice will always be a gaping hole in my life and a gaping hole in my children's life. I want to remember Alice as the lovely, happy, funny, wonderful person that she was. I don't want to remember that she was murdered.
What I wish is that people would see her more as a human rather than a victim. She is a human first, and she was my friend first, before she was Alice Ruggles. the victim.